I gotta listen to the music.
The weekend vibes, Fins Talk, we going live. Bobby fans and Fish Tank Hank, Miami Dolphins, we got your back. Saturday noon is the place to be, catching Dolphins talking fantasy. From the field to the fan debate, Fins Talk today, don't be late. Fins up, we ride until the end with Bobby and Hank, they're your best friends. Podcast popping every week, no delay, join the crew, Fins Talk today. Live chat and stats so prime, Miami hustle all the time. News and views will pave the way. Dive on in, it's Fins Talk today. Top plays and what went wrong, breaking down each game so strong. Fans united, feel the beat. Fins Talk, family can't be beat. Fins up, we ride until the end with Bobby and Hank, they're your best friends. Podcast popping every week, no delay, join the crew, Fins Talk today. Fins up, we ride until the end with Bobby.
Then you pop open the can.
Hello, everybody, and welcome. I love that song. Welcome to Fins Talk today on FTSN. I'm Bobby Fins Talk. That's Fish Tank Hank, the one and only. What's up, Fish Tank?
Yo, I am, just stopping in to have a good time and rejoice over the fact of I was right. The Colts dropped an egg.
That's right.
And the Broncos lost. And Miami could win with Huntley.
That's right. All the trifecta worked. Miami did their job. They did the win, and they carry their season on. Their season continues into week 18. There's still hope going into week 18. Anthony Manzano in the comments. Great to see you, my man. Haven't seen you in a little bit. Happy New Year.
What's up?
Good to see you, brother.
Happy New Year, everybody. Happy New Year.
That's right. I haven't seen you for over a year, man. It's been a year. How you been? How's everything? Kelly's okay?
Yeah, everybody's good. Life is moving on, and, the Fins are winning.
That's all that matters, right? The Fins are winning. Fins for the win, as I say it.
Exactly.
So we go
Fins to win.
There you go. Yeah, the season continues. This is not meaningless football tomorrow. It's going to be very important. This game here, of course, Miami, it's not just winning. They have to win to keep the season alive, but they got to rely on the Kansas City Chiefs to beat the Denver Broncos. Bobby, you have way too much hope. No, I'm stating the facts. Miami has to win and Broncos have to lose. There's one more week. That's the fact. Do I think, we're going to get into our predictions? And I guess that'll be the case, but I'm not saying, oh my God, it's over. No, because legitimately there's still a chance. And as long as there's a chance, as a Dolphins fan, I'm going to root on my team. We're going to talk about, what if people's jobs should be on the line and all this, whatnot, and all that. But Anthony, the Dolphins have kept their season alive. And look, Fish Tank just said it. Who did the Colts lose to, Fish Tank? I can't remember the team.
Giants.
The Giants. Everybody thought the Colts were going to beat the Giants' ass last week with Joe Flacco at quarterback. What happened? They laid an egg. The Broncos lost, kept the Dolphins. So I understand realistically, or if you're looking paper to paper, you go, okay, Broncos, they have all their starters in. They have something to play for. Kansas City, they took all their starters out. They got the number one seed. They have nothing to play for. So, yeah, if you're going to look on the outside in, you go, okay, more than likely the Broncos are going to win. That's going to kill Miami's chances, no matter whatever Miami does. But guess what? As Fish Tank brought up before, there's always a chance. And Kansas City could play spoiler and kill the Dolphins season. The Jets could do the same thing. The Jets are we all know that we can't. Miami has no business losing to the Jets tomorrow, no matter who's starting at quarterback. But the way Aaron Rodgers played against the Dolphins the last time, Miami can't have that again. Miami has to come in and shut him down. Anthony Manzano says, we screwed ourselves early in the season by losing the teams we weren't supposed to. I don't think we make the playoffs. That's why we're fighting for a playoff spot. That's why we're in the position we're in. And because Miami screwed themselves, that's why I'm all about moving on from Greer. But we're moving ahead here. Let's get into it, Fish Tank. Oh, go ahead, Fishing. I'm sorry. You haven't had a chance to respond to Anthony's comments.
I was going to piggyback on something you were saying.
Yes, sir.
As far as Kansas City goes, okay? Don't think that just because Kansas City's putting in backup players that all is lost. Because let me tell you something. Those backup players are playing for a job next season, okay? That they're also going to determine whether or not they play for the Kansas City Chiefs or they draft somebody and get rid of their butts during the offseason. So guess what? I think that the Kansas City Chiefs have just as much of a chance of winning as the Denver Broncos do with their starters. So, you obviously want Kansas City's best in there, obviously, but that's not the case, and that's not how it's going to go. Most people would want two in, but he's not in there either. But guess what? That's a different ball game to play. Like I said last week, they don't have a bunch of tape on Huntley running this offense. They have a bunch of tape of Tua running this offense. It's kind of hard to defend against. And like I said, the fact that he can run adds that whole other dynamic that Tua didn't really have, And we saw some of that last week. I'm excited about our possibilities both ways, Bobby. Us winning and possibly Denver losing or Kansas City winning. But, I think we're going to be in for a good weekend.
And that's my thing, right? I mean, and Anthony just put that in there about the backup situation in Kansas City with Carson Wentz. Yeah, and that Kansas City. First off, they still have Andy Reid's not taking a back seat. Andy Reid, they would love nothing more to spoil the season for the Broncos. Miami has to do their job. Miami has to come out and win on against the Jets. They have to do the same type of game plan they did against the Browns. They do that, they get in. I understand, even for people who believe Miami is going to win, or they say, the reason why they don't want Miami to win because we're going to go to playoffs and get bounced anyway because we're going to face the Buffalo Bills. You know what? Maybe so. Who cares? But I want to get to the playoffs, and I want to win the first playoff game. That doesn't change it. I know a lot of people are afraid. Oh, if we go to the playoffs, that means Chris Greer and Mike McDaniel are going to come back. Nothing's guaranteed. This season has been a disappointment. Let's not pretend. Okay, Dolphins should not be 8-8 right now. No. As long as I'm bleeding aqua and orange, as long as if I'm breathing, I'm a Dolphins fan. I want to see them to win. I want to see them win. And you know what? Getting to the playoffs, anything could happen. I'm not saying it's going to. And it's for people watching. It was like, oh, Bobby's too much of a hopeful fish tank. You believe that? I'm the homer all of a sudden. People are saying I'm the homer. It's not that. Any given Sunday, I'll tell you if I think, I'll do my prediction and I'll say,
hey, Bobby.
Yes.
Bobby. They're just keeping it real with you, all right?
Yeah. Oh, but the thing is, right, Fish Tank?
They're being realistic, Bobby.
I know it. I'll still say, if the Dolphins go against the Buffalo Bills, especially maybe Tua doesn't start, I'll say, you know what? I'm happy the Dolphins are here, but they're going to get bounced again. It is what it is. But as long as I'm breathing, I want the Dolphins to get in. If there's an opportunity for Miami to get into the playoffs, I want it to happen. And so you can call me hopeful all you want. It's just what it is. And I understand that, even if Dolphins make the playoffs, they get bounced in the first round. I don't know if Greer survives this season. Maybe McDaniel, but I don't think Greer does. I think Greer is on a very, very hot seat right now, Fish Tank.
Let me give you a hot take on that, being you're mentioning Buffalo.
Yes, sir.
Let's talk about Buffalo a little bit because that's who Miami would have to play.
Yes.
So, you want the reality of that? Huntley has played in cold weather a lot. So if he's starting, I actually believe if he's starting and we go into Buffalo, we have a better chance than we do with Tua.
Wow. That is a hot take.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think we have a better chance with Huntley going up into the cold without Tua. And I wouldn't be surprised if Miami went up there and smacked him with Huntley.
That's a hot take for sure, Fish Tank. I mean, obviously Tua has stated that he thinks he could play. The team saying, no, you cannot play. He says, if we get to the playoffs, I'm playing no matter what. Let me ask you, Fish Tank, Tua's missing the last 2 weeks. It looks like, more than likely he's going to miss. He hasn't been playing. He hasn't been practicing. He's been limited. He doesn't throw to receivers. More than likely will miss week 18. Last year he played. The year before that, he did not. Obviously, Skylar played the Buffalo game in the playoffs. It could be again where Huntley's going to finish this season out. Tua's going to miss it. If Tua does miss next week, like you say, maybe Miami has a better chance. But if Tua misses, he's missing the last 2 weeks. Could possibly miss next week, but he's saying he's going to play. But just in this situation, what's your thoughts on this whole thing with Tua just not being available? Now it's a hip again, and it's the same hip, just a different injury. But again, it's just another injury and not being able to finish the season.
Yeah, that's disappointing. At some point in time, you have to say we're going to look at bringing somebody else in. Now, if you look at the board for us as far as draft picks go, we're not in a position really to replace our current quarterback with something worse. You know what I mean? Because if we picked up a quarterback, we're not going to get anything better than Tua from this current draft. That's just the way it is. And, we're not picking first. We're not picking second. We're not picking, we're going to pick around mid-range. So you're picking around midway, 15 to 18 somewhere. Who knows? Who knows what you'll get, but I seriously doubt you'll get a starter that's better than Tua. So you're going to wait a year anyway. So how do I feel about his injuries? I hate it. But, you saw how he got hit too, though. Unlikely, you wouldn't expect. That was a very unlikely kind of hit that you would get. You wouldn't.
Yeah.
That's not an everyday hit he took, is what I'm trying to say.
It's not. No, he dove in, got hit on both sides.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a pretty critical hit. So, I mean, that would have hurt just about any player. It would have bruised something in there and slowed you down a bit. That's for dang sure. And, being he's had a previous injury, yeah, he can feel it, but he also stated that he was ready to play, but that it's a medical thing where they wanted to be sure. Right?
Yes, sir.
I'm pretty sure that's what he had to say. And if that's the case, then he should be ready to play the Bills. But if it's me and we make it to the playoffs and we do get to face the Bills, I want Huntley in there.
Well, let me just clarify too, because Tua said one thing, coach is saying another. Coach is saying he basically paraphrasing. I don't have to quote in front of me, but basically saying that Tua being in there, he's not healthy enough. The hip is so bad that he doesn't have the strength to throw. He's putting his team in jeopardy. He's putting himself in jeopardy. That which is crazy to say this. That McDaniel says this. That the Dolphins are worse off with Tua at quarterback right now. He is not in a place right now to be the starting quarterback for the Miami Dolphins. So it sounds like they're at a disagreement here. The medical staff obviously saying Tua cannot play. McDaniel's saying, hey, if you're not healthy enough, you're not playing. So Tua could say whatever he wants. If Coach McDaniel and the offense and the medical staff say, Tua, you just don't have it right now. We can't. Obviously Tua at 100% gives you your best chance to win in a realistic world. But the fact of the matter is, if he's not 100%, we saw that underthrow to Tyreek. Tyreek should have came down with it. But that INT at the end was underthrown. It was not a good football. A lot of these footballs have not been good by Tua being thrown. There was a lot of unusual throws that you go, man, how the hell is Tua doing that? And now you realize, oh crap, well, he's hurt.
Yeah, and imagine him taking these hits in 30-degree weather
against the Buffalo Bills. And even against the New York Jets. Absolutely.
If he went in this week taking those hits, forget about it.
Yeah. So, it's crazy to say, but Miami's best chance to win tomorrow is for sure having Tyler Huntley start and having the same type of playbook. Only difference is Miami definitely needs to get the run game going. That's for sure. Devon Achane has to be involved. I know they try to get Raheem Mostert the ball too. They have to get him open and available. Obviously, that offensive line is abysmal. It's a joke. That's a fireable offense by Chris Greer. I mean, the whole thing about, we'll go over and over that whole thing because he laughed at everybody's faces, just like Tua with the potato chips, making those
Yeah.
stupid ass comments. And then you look where you're at right now. You can't stay healthy, can't hold on the ball, and your offensive line is a joke, Chris Greer. And that's why Chris Greer, again, that's a malpractice at the highest order. How especially when you know your situation at quarterback, how you go into the offseason with this offense, into the season with this offensive line. It just doesn't make any sense to me. And that's why I think we do definitely need to change at top, maybe a change of philosophy without building the trenches and all that to protect Tua, especially if you go into next year with him at quarterback, which most likely you will. Now, if Tua going into next season does not mean, he should be the only guy who should be a quarterback. Obviously, you need to re-sign Tyler Huntley. He doesn't have to be your number 2 automatically. He could be, and I know Miami's talked about that. I definitely think Miami should, in the mid rounds or even through free agency, get a legitimate guy who could start 1 or 2. If Tua goes down, you're not even thinking about it. Have him compete with Tyler Huntley, have him compete for number 2 and number 3. And if Tua goes down, you have a legitimate guy back there who could come in and play. If Scotty's in the house, what's up, Scotty? Happy Saturday, my man. He says, if Armstead plays and starts and they start Carmen over Paul at right, I'll be upset. Yeah, Carmen Jackson over Paul. I'm with you. I did not like what I saw at Carmen, and I think Patrick Paul needs to get the reps. I think this is crazy to say. I'm not sure. I don't know how comfortable I'm with Armstead starting. Armstead is not healthy. He becomes a liability. I have not liked what I saw from him the last few weeks. I'd be more comfortable with him being in the backup role this upcoming game. Yep. Let Patrick Paul get the start at left tackle and let him get those reps. I mean, I know the season is on the line and you want your best guys out there, but your best guys are liabilities right now. They can't stay healthy. Fish Tank.
I'd rather them take a week off. And if we're lucky enough that Denver loses and we go into the playoffs.
For sure. No, and that's what I said. They asked me last week about if would I want Tua to play this game? And I said, no, I would rather, if Tua's not 100%, let him sit, let Huntley start. And if they make the playoffs, and if Tua's 80%, 100%, whatever it is, if he's 80, even if he's 80%, you put Tua in because he has to play that game. Now, if he's 60, 50, 40, he still is what McDaniel's concerned with, then he doesn't play. That's it. And that's a knock on him. And it sucks because you can't control injuries. But if your body says you can't do it, there's a problem there. And then, of course, now McDaniel and the career looks stupid because he gave Tua that deal. Now, I understand the deal at the time because, you don't know, you want to get it done. You don't want to lose. But the fact of the matter is, if Greer would have waited and this season out and said, okay, we're going to wait till the offseason, Fish Tank, and Tua has these injuries, and you're going to the offseason with Tua about to become a free agent, you're not looking as dumb right now. You're looking pretty smart because now you can move on from that deal. You could sign him to a cheaper contract and go get another guy. But now you got into a big contract. So you're not stuck with him for multiple years because you can move on. I mean, look what Kirk Cousins did. Kirk Cousins is going to get cut by the Falcons, even though after he signed that big deal. You keep Tua for at least another season, but you go into the draft in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round, Fish Tank, securing a guy. He doesn't have to be your start. You could groom him. He could be your backup, or maybe he could possibly step in and do something for you if Tua goes down next year. But to me, let me ask you this. I'm going to ask you this question. Even if Miami wins and Broncos lose, but let's just say Miami loses tomorrow. Let's make it easy, okay? Because Miami loses, it doesn't matter what happens. Season's over. We know what happens with the Broncos Chiefs.
Can't we say they win?
I know that, but I'm asking you this. You're Stephen Ross. Dolphins lose tomorrow. You finish 8-9, you're eliminated. What do you do from there? What's the first thing you do, Fish Tank?
I check within first because I like McKenzie. Okay. I like McKenzie, and I might move McKenzie up to GM, depending on how Mr. Ross feels about the people that are in staff. For me, I think he'd do himself a disservice if he didn't look within first, because there's a couple names within that he should at least, talk to first. And McKenzie would be my number one right off the bat as far as GM goes. The next thing I would do is tell that GM I want to build the trenches. and that it starts with the offensive line first, because we need to protect our quarterback and start with that. And, you know, whether he keeps Mike McDaniel or not, I don't know. See, that's going to be the big question. Does he fire both? Does he clear house? You know, Mike McDaniel's going into what, his 4th year with the team?
Yeah,
That's
this will be his 4th year after this year.
Yeah, so he's going into his 4th year with the team. You know, you got to have some backup. You gotta have, like you were saying, you know, you gotta do something as far as quarterback goes. But do you trust McDaniel to still stay in there and call the plays and all that? And like I said, I would keep McDaniel for continuity 1 year. If I was the owner, I would keep him for a minimum of 1 year for continuity within the team structure. If the GM does not, if at the end of the year I don't like what he's produced or hasn't produced, then I would fire him also and have the GM help me pick a new head coach.
Yeah. Yeah. And let me just shout out to, because you brought up Reggie McKenzie. There's 2 guys out in there. I understand, like Scotty says, McKenzie or Allen would have been good for as an interim GM this season, but he wants to go outside the organization for a GM manager. I understand that. And again, I brought up some names, Fish Tank, you know, ones who are in Pittsburgh, the Kansas City Chiefs. Those are organizations, Philadelphia. Those are organizations that I'm watching, that I'd be interested in. But you know, I understand when people's fear, or they're kind of like, oh man, I don't want a guy who's in house already because he's in part of the same organization. But here's the difference. These guys, Reggie McKenzie or Marvin Allen, they may be working with under Greer, but they might have a different mindset. You know,
Exactly.
You know,
that's why Mr. Ross needs to go talk with them first and see what
their mind. No, they should be a part of the interview process.
Yes,
so
definitely.
Okay, so let me just say, and there is a lot of good candidates out there for sure, but I'm not against interviewing those guys because, first off, here's my thing, especially if we look at another coach, Fish Tank, and I'm not saying that, I'm sticking with the GM, but my point is, one of my things for a coach, if we did go that route, obviously I would like a former head coach, but I understand if that doesn't work out, but definitely I would be interested in a former player. When you look at the Marvin Allen, he's a former player as well. He's a former running back. He was a running back for the New England Patriots, but he also served as the where is it? Let me make sure I get the right info here. Let me pull this up. He worked with the New England Patriots department from 93 to 2008 in the personnel department. He left New England for the Falcons through the 2013 season. And then from the 2014-2017 season, he was the director of scouting, college scouting for Kansas City. And then from 2018, he was the national scout for the Buffalo Bills. And then Reggie McKenzie, we all know what he did with the Raiders before John Gruden took over. I mean, Khalil Mack and those guys, Derek Carr. They might have different philosophies as the head honchos. And Reggie McKenzie is also a former player. So I think it's absolutely fair to look in-house in regards to the guys that you have on staff. Maybe they see a different view. Maybe they go, man, I want to attack the offensive line. I think we could do this, this, and this. And you're okay. And especially, we know McGreer and Ross is comfortable with guys that he knows. And hopefully, maybe he has a relationship with those guys, and that might work. But I understand.
And that's another thing. They've probably already talked, and he probably already knows, their mindsets at this point in time and what they were thinking prior to and all that.
Happy New Year, Aladino. Appreciate you, my man.
Happy New Year, everybody. I think that, he's got to have some type of idea. But for me, I like the way McKenzie was doing his job over for the Raiders. And I like a lot of what McKenzie was doing. It's just for whatever reason, those players that they got and it just did not work for whatever reason,
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that I wouldn't say, okay, well, let's go get somebody else. I have no problem bringing somebody else in either outside the organization. I don't want to make it sound like I'm pigeonholed into that, because I'm not. I just think McKenzie should be interviewed at least, to see what direction, Stephen Ross wants to go for sure. I think he has plenty of talent. I think he knows how to draft. I think he knows what it takes to be successful. I think he's also had the opportunity to see what other directions Greer could have gone in and taken a look, especially, his stupid remarks about, oh, you're worried about the offensive line. We're not. I mean, come on, man. You tell me those other guys weren't worried like we were? Come on. They had to be.
Doesn't take a rocket scientist. I know people say, oh, we're in the league. You're not. You guys are just armchair quarterbacks or armchair GMs. Listen, you get paid the big bucks, but it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out your team is effed with no offensive line and where your offensive line is. I mean, I don't know how much, Fish Tank, myself, Scotty in the comments throughout the offseason all talking about we need offensive line. We need to build that offensive line. We need to build the trenches. But as long as Chris Greer is in there, that's not going to happen. And that's just a fact. So
not
from
properly anyway, because
not properly, that's right.
He always gets injured players.
And I will say too, so Fish Tank, so very quick, just to follow back. If Miami loses tomorrow, your first thing is Greer. Fire Greer.
Greer's got to go.
For sure.
Greer's got to go no matter what. Greer's got to go whether you hire from.
And I would let the new GM decide the fate of the head coach. Let the GM decide the fate of the next head coach. If he likes McDaniel, if he talks to McDaniel and they sing Kumbaya and they see eye to eye, cool. I'll be straight with it. I'll still have my concerns with McDaniel, but I'll be cool with it because the new GM is down with it because now he's tying himself up. But if he says,
I would tell the new GM that if the current head coach does not work out after this year, we're going to fire him.
Bounce him, yeah.
And that GM would come in knowing that he's not tied to that head coach.
Yeah.
Because you don't want a GM that thinks that they're stuck with a head coach that they might not like.
And this is true too. And I will say this too. Even if we win tomorrow and let's say the Broncos lose and Miami gets into the playoffs and Miami gets bounced in the wild card, I'm still moving on from Greer.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I don't care what we do this year. I would move on from Greer. We could win the Super Bowl. I'd still move on from Greer.
So, and this is true, John. Thank you for joining us, my man. Happy New Year. Appreciate you. Just want to read that Minnesota hinted that rookie quarterback J.J. McCarthy might be available via trade. Is that something you would want Miami to explore, Fish Tank?
Oh, yeah. That would be sweet. That would be totally sweet. I mean, but just think, Minnesota had him. They had him in there for a little while, and they don't want him. Is there something wrong? I mean,
well, let me just. So he was drafted by Michigan. They moved on from Kirk Cousins. He was slated to start, but he had that season-ending injury, so he went down for the season. Now Sam Darnold comes in there and lights it up, and I mean, he is coming off it. And so Sam Darnold, and it's hard to move off from Sam Darnold, especially with the way your team played. I mean, this is a huge week for Minnesota. They play the Detroit Lions tomorrow. If they win, they're the 5th seed right now. Fish Tank. If Minnesota with Sam Darnold beats Detroit, they move on to the number 1 seed. It's hard to convince yourself to go, okay, even though Sam Darnold did so great with Justin Jefferson in this offense, we're going to go ahead and move in with J.J. McCarthy going forward. I like J.J. McCarthy. He's my safest bet coming out of life. He would be able to be the number 1 quarterback this year if he came out. But he was my safest bet at quarterback coming out in this last draft. It didn't work out for him. He's more pro ready. If I'm Miami, I'd do it. I'd do it in a heartbeat because, again, he can compete with Tyler Huntley. He's not guaranteed to start. Yep. But guess what? Now you just saved yourself a draft pick. You go draft someone else. Because now
would you give up a first for him?
No, because we need our first. We need our
first.
I give up a second.
Price is a first.
I'll give up a second for it. I'll give up a second.
They wouldn't do. They wouldn't do a second. I'd give them a first for him.
If you're moving on, well, that's okay, and that's cool too. But I'm just saying, me personally, I mean, and not because now look, do I think he's worth the first? I do, because again, he would be the first quarterback off the board, in my opinion. So
I'd do it.
If you could do it, do it. As long as Greer's gone, Newfoundland. He says, as long as Greer's gone, I could live with McD for another year. And if he continues to call bonehead games, get rid of him too. This is okay. Let's say McDaniel stays another year, even if Greer's fired. For me, I would say McDaniel, I'm gonna need you to give up on play calling.
Yeah.
You're on a short leash. You're the head coach. You could do the play designs, but give up on play calling.
Absolutely.
Let it roll out that way. Focus on
my backup.
There you go. Yeah, you're ready to go. I love the color. It's perfect. Oh, no wonder that's the color. There you go. Minnesota has to keep Darnold. Moving off of him is insane to me. Why not keep JJ? No, there's true too. Minnesota would be smart enough not to move JJ McCarthy. But Sam Darnold, I think, is young enough that you could remain with him. So anywho, Fish Tank, we're at the 30-minute mark. So let me ask you, sir, for tomorrow's game, what are your keys to a Dolphins victory? What does Miami have to do with Tyler Huntley at quarterback to beat the Jets and at least have hope that they could get into the playoffs? Because they got to rely, of course, on the Broncos to lose.
Okay. It's going to sound weird. Nobody's going to believe me. We need to run the ball. And I'm talking, that includes Huntley doing quarterback draws, etc., sneaks, whatever you want to call them, quarterback draw or RPOs, whatever. I want to see the quarterback be part of the running game tomorrow. I really want to see that. I also want to see Miami take their chances downfield. It's supposed to be 30 degrees, but I don't think the weather's supposed to be bad. So, if the weather's clear and it's around 30-something degrees, man, first key is Miami has got to get the quarterback involved in the run game. Huntley needs to be part of our run game. That's our first key. Second key is our defense has to get after Aaron Rodgers. Unlike last time, we didn't get after him and he just ate us alive. So we can't have that kind of stuff. However, I would say that starts in the trenches. So we have got to get penetration on defense for our second key of victory. Our third key is we have to go, like I had already said, we have to go deep. We have to take our chances downfield because the Jets can score some points quick. Now, they don't always do it, but they can. They have players that have that ability to explode in a game. And they're not going to go into the night quietly with the Miami Dolphins. I can assure you that. Those two always go at each other, especially when one knows the other one might make the playoffs.
Yeah, so, Jets want to play spoilers. They want to.
Yeah,
they want to play the nightmare game for sure.
They are not going to sit back and just let the Dolphins walk in. That's not going to happen. So, I think we need to go deep, take our chances downfield, get the quarterback involved in the run game, or do RPOs, whatever you want to say. And our defense has to get penetration and contain Rodgers. They need to get after him. I want to see some sacks.
So I think you're right on the money. I think Scotty is as well, talking about, for me, especially on offense with this game, obviously Huntley gives you something to can't in regards of extending the play, moving out of the pocket, running, getting some yards ahead. I think that's important, especially in this type of game. Keep your offense on the field, long drives, holding on to that football. I do believe we might see a lot of screens, checkdowns, just to keep the ball moving. Get HN involved. Obviously, you want to get Tyreek involved, hopefully. On defense, though, I agree with you 100%. Yes, sir.
I'm hoping on the checkdowns that we normally have, that's Huntley being part of the run game instead of a check down. That's what I'm hoping to transpire.
So, but that's what he gives you that Tua can't. Tua has to do the check down. That's really all he can do, because every time he runs, and he's not as fast. Where Huntley could go, fake, and keep going, and then now you have a 5-10 plus yards, compared to what you. So he offers you that. Now on defense, you're 100% correct. I agree with you. You cannot allow Rodgers to have the game he had last time. Shut him down. Shut him down. Don't, keep him close. Keep it here. this is supposed to be, he could be out after this season. There's too much noise in the New York Jets right now with who's they're going to be their GM, who's going to be their coach. Might be Rex Ryan again next year. Is Aaron Rodgers come back? Devontae Adams could be traded after this season again. There's too much there, too much drama going on within the New York Jets organization publicly that the Miami and the Dolphins have no business losing against them. Show your worth. If you're a playoff team, do your job.
Yeah.
Come through. Don't look at the score. Don't pay attention to the Kansas City game. Don't pay attention to that game at all. Don't focus on the field. All right. Calais Campbell, Zach Sealer. I don't have to ask much of them because they're always great. But they're the leaders. I already expect big plays. Chop Robinson. It's going to be huge for that team to shut down Aaron Rodgers to the point where after halftime, he comes out and Tyrod Taylor comes in or whomever comes in. That's what I want to see. So Fish Tank, I'm going to ask you, sir. Forgive me, I don't have my notes here, but that's okay. Do you win or lose tomorrow for Miami Dolphins?
Wow. Huntley's playing. This is going to be one of the tougher games of the season for the Dolphins. This is not going to be an easy game. I have the Dolphins on top, though. I have the Dolphins coming out 27-24.
27-24. So
I think this game is going to have a couple explosions in it as far as on offense go for both sides. And because the wide receiving core on both sides is great. I'm not going to sit here and try to pretend that they don't have a good wide receiver core, and they have Aaron Rodgers who can get the ball to those wide receivers. So I'm just saying.
Let me make sure I have this here. I'm going to write that down, Fish Tank, because I'm going to talk about it on pregame tomorrow. I like to put your score in there to say Fish Tank had it this. So 27-24 Miami for Fish Tank. I'm going to tell you, Fish Tank, you look at what the Jets have done the last couple weeks. They lost 40-14 against the Buffalo Bills. They lost 19-9 against the Rams. Miami 20-3 against Cleveland, 29-17 against San Francisco. Miami has the third best defense. Scotty has it. Scotty will say it again tomorrow, I'm sure, but Scotty has it 17-13 Miami. I like to keep it. My son likes to watch it too. I should call him because he gets mad at me if I don't let him say the score. And Fish Tank, I have it 20-9 Miami tomorrow.
Whoa.
I have it 20-9 Miami. Again, most important thing, I know we want Miami. I mean, we want the Broncos to lose. That's, we know that's a tall ask, but the most important thing for Miami is to win. Mom says Fish Tank Huntley wins for Miami. She has it. Dolphins 21, Jets 10. So she had to just go 1 point over me. Fish Tank 20-9. Mom has it 21-10 Miami. And then JB says Fins will win, then play golf with the Jets this postseason because Paxton and Knicks are not losing to the Chiefs at home. So the Dolphins win, but the Broncos win as well. Aladino has it 23-19 Miami. Calling our defense stopping Rodgers 500. That's right. That's right. Call it. Car Connection Online. Man, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you. I think it's your first time. He says Rodgers might not play more than one quarter. Let me mute myself very quick. See if Tristan's hanging around because I know he got mad last time because I didn't let him predict. Hold on a second. Let's see.
Go get him, Bobby.
We'll see. I know he got mad last time. He just won his basketball game. We're 3-0. He had a score. He had 2 steals, a couple assists. He was very happy. It was a good game. It was a tight game, Fish Tank. Defense was so important in this game. I'm so proud of my kids. Let me get him because I want him to go ahead and Mom is always right. Yes, she is. Mom is always right for sure. And I know if she's watching, she'll love to see Tristan. So let me grab Tristan very quick, Fish Tank, so he can make his prediction. I'll be right back.
All right. Guess Bobby's going to step out for a minute or two. What else we got down here? Newfoundland, you got 17-10. Connector Online, you got 24-12. Miami. Rodgers is going to get rocked. I think Rodgers is going to get rocked too. I think our defense just has too much going on for it that Rodgers isn't going to be able to just sit back like he did last game. He's going to have some issues with Chop. Now Chop's had a season to at least get ready for this game. This is a vital game, and I know Miami's going to give it 120%, especially on defense against Rodgers. I agree. I see him getting smacked around.
So Tristan knocked out. He is sleeping. I went to his room. He was knocked out. So he played his game. He's burnt out. So he'll
Poor
get his
little
prediction.
guy.
Yeah, he'll be on. We'll make sure he pops in on pregame tomorrow to get his prediction in. But I know he'll probably say fishing 52-7 Miami. He'll go. No, he won't say that. But anyway, listen. Miami.
Hold on. Let's talk about this Kansas City thing.
What's up?
I haven't heard what you think about the Kansas City Denver game.
I would say I know we have no control over that. I know I'll stick to Miami, but I said it on Check Down yesterday. I don't sleep on Andy Reid whatsoever. He's one of the greatest coaches. Could go down as maybe the greatest coach with Pat Mahomes. So even with Carson Wentz, I mean, look what he's done with Chad Henne at quarterback. He's won with him before. You look what he did in Philly. You look at what he's done in Kansas City. A lot of his guys are out, but I would not put it past Kansas City to come out with a win tomorrow against the Denver Broncos. But I understand, you got oh my goodness, what's his name? Sean Payton at coach over there. Bo Nix is doing really well.
Yeah.
But, I'll just say Fish Tank without saying it. I guess the quote unquote realistic thing would say is, Denver pulls it out, but don't sleep on Kansas City. I would not sleep on Kansas City winning tomorrow. I'll just say Miami fans don't just, I know it's going to be hard not switching channels or trying to look at it.
It's going to be a tough game tomorrow.
They're both playing at the same time. So we could be like, I know Chad Henne has a Super Bowl ring. Yes. We can hang on that, but it's going to be tough tomorrow, because you see, Miami wins. And all of a sudden you look at the bottom, Broncos win. You're like, no, it's over, but it is what it is. I'll just say this. It's been a long, tough year. As a Dolphins fan, personally, whatever, but I'm going to live and die a Dolphins fan. I love this team. I will look forward again into next year. We're going to be here all off season. No matter Miami wins, loses a draw, we'll be here. We're going to be talking everything. Hopefully we're talking about a new GM and we're looking at a fresh start and whatever, but we will see. But right now, guys, the most important thing for Fish Tank and I, the season is not over. It's not over yet. So sit back, enjoy tomorrow. Dolphins are playing meaningful football. Scream and shout, cheer on your football team, and hopefully, just hopeful, Miami pulls out the win and the Denver Broncos lay an egg like the Colts did last week. That's all that needs to happen for Miami to go to the playoffs. And I understand we'll take it one game at a time. I know what Buffalo can do. We understand that.
Yeah.
Okay. But let's just get there and we'll deal with that when we get there. Okay. Daniel says, Bobby, thanks for all the shows this year. Tomorrow, no matter what happens, it's somewhere. Daniel, thank you, my man, for everyone for hanging with us throughout the season, through all the shows and everything. We appreciate you guys. You know how it is. But thank you. That means a lot. Thank you, Car Connection, man. Like and subscribe, guys, for those who haven't. Fish Tank, any final words before we wrap it up, sir?
Just with the rivalry between the Kansas City and the Denver Broncos, I think Kansas City's going to do a lot of pushing around. And like I said before, you have backups that are playing for a spot on the roster that are going to be playing too. So there's a lot to play for Kansas City. And a lot of people say, oh, well, it's not their start. That doesn't matter. Like Bobby said, Andy Reid comes up with some schemes, man, and you just don't expect them. And he might do it again.
Yeah, and I will say I'm with Scotty. I want to see this team finish on a winning record. I know a lot of people are afraid that if the Dolphins finish with a winning record, that means a lot of guys are going to come back and whether front office coaching or whatever. No.
Nah.
Everybody, even the owner, whomever, sees the writing on the wall with a lot of these guys. So there will be changes. Orion, thank you for tuning in. This is great talk, guys. I love the Dolphins, but Jets 27-13. Oh, but hey, it's all right. Hammer time. Happy New Year. Guys, thank you all for tuning in. If you haven't yet, hit that like and subscribe button. I'll be back on twice later today. 8 o'clock, got No Holds Barred Wrestling. Talk about New Year resolutions. We'll talk SmackDown and Raw, the Netflix Raw. If you like wrestling, join us. And then right after 9:30, I'll be back with Alex Tiachiska and Courtney Dahl, from Dolphins Diaries. We're going to talk Miami Heat. Jimmy Butler fish tank demanded a trade. It's toxic. It's that's at the drama, the diva stuff. Everything's going down. Miami Heat suspended him. They said stay away 7 days. We're going to trade him. And so there's a lot to talk about with Miami Heat. So, guys, join me tonight either for 8 o'clock for wrestling or 9:30 Miami Heat. I don't have a break. There's no hot time for me, but that's okay. I love it. That's the one and only Fish Tank Hank, the man, the myth, the legend. Check out his car if you catch him driving around Orlando. I'm Bobby Finstock. Like and subscribe, and most importantly, Dolphin fans, always.